To the man's surprise, he discovered that on the other side of the desolate canyon stood a beautiful woman. Though they were a kilometer apart, her perfect figure was still strikingly captivating. He wanted to take another look, but the woman seemed to have noticed him. She immediately stopped what she was doing and turned to face him. It was a stunningly beautiful face, but the man quickly averted his gaze. Someone had once told him never to interfere with whatever was happening on the other side, and certainly not to try to communicate with the other side. This was a watchtower built on the edge of the canyon, and the man was its newest guardian. But strangely enough, though there wasn't a soul within 1,000 miles, next to the watchtower lay all manner of weapons and equipment. Every 600 meters stood an automated anti-aircraft battery, and every kilometer, a satellite receiver for communication with the outside world. And deep within the canyon, a massive floating landmine is positioned every 10 meters. They look like mere decorations, yet they also seem to be guarding against something. The previous guard told him that the mission here is simple as that of a highly skilled maintenance worker. All he has to do each day is inspect the equipment and restock ammunition. As long as he endures for 1 year, the next guard will come to relieve him. The man is baffled. Before he arrived, his superiors had told him this was a very important mission. Moreover, he had been sedated during the journey and airlifted directly into this canyon. But now, he didn't even know what the objective of the mission was. Was it to prevent anyone from entering the canyon? The previous guardian had told him mysteriously that it was to prevent whatever was inside the canyon from escaping. This left the man even more baffled. What could possibly be inside this empty, desolate canyon? The next day, Jack, whose term had ended, was told by his superior that he could go home. After trekking dozens of kilometers, he reached a mountaintop. He tossed the smoke grenade in his hand and called out to his comrades to come and pick him up. Soon, a rope was thrown down. After securing it around his body, Jack prepared to leave. However, just a second before boarding the helicopter, his comrade pulled a gun on him. The man shot Jack dead, then cut the rope and threw him down. Afterward, he reported the incident to his superiors. Meanwhile, the man began his new day's work, patrolling the territory and inspecting the equipment. It seemed that, just as the previous guard had said, this was an incredibly simple maintenance job, even more monotonous than he had imagined. After working for 30 days, the man reported his progress to the military as required. This was the second voice he'd heard since arriving at the canyon. Already deeply curious about the job, he couldn't help but ask a question. But the other party didn't answer. They simply hung up. It seemed as though they were deliberately hiding something. Out of boredom, he recalled Jack's warning not to try to peek at the sentry tower across the way. But the more he was told not to, the more curious he became. So he couldn't resist looking across with his binoculars. But to his surprise, nothing seemed out of the ordinary on the other side. The only difference was that the sentinel in the opposite watchtower was actually a beautiful woman. Moreover, she appeared to be just as curious about the situation on his side. What surprised him even more was that this beautiful woman actually reached out to him. She was clever. She used gunfire to catch his attention when he stepped outside and looked across with his binoculars. She wrote down what she wanted to say on a notepad. Since they were so far apart, this was their only way to communicate. And the first thing the woman said was to ask the man his name. A moment later, the man replied to her using the same method. However, he remembered Jack's warning, so he wrote on the board that he would not answer that question. He thought this would end their conversation, but to his surprise, the woman quickly replied. Her playful and charming demeanor made the man unable to help but smile slightly. So, he wrote his message on the board once more, and filled his glass with wine, wishing the woman a happy birthday. It was precisely this phrase that completely bridged the gap between the two strangers. The woman took out a CD and played some music. However, just as the two were having a great time, something seemed amiss in the canyon. The man immediately raised his rifle and looked down, only to discover a terrifying sight he had never seen before.